In the vast expanse of space, silence is not empty. It is structured, predictable, mathematical. Every asteroid, every comet, every grain of interplanetary dust moves according to rules written billions of years ago, when the sun was young and gravity decided where matter would go and where it would never belong. Astronomers trust patterns. They trust trajectories. They trust statistics. And that is why, when something breaks those patterns, even subtly, it does not scream, it whispers. In late 2025, deep within the automated sky surveys that scan the darkness night after night, a faint moving point appeared. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, another object, another rock, another line of data among millions. NASA's initial assessment was cautious, conservative. A rocky object, they said, likely natural. No immediate cause for concern. But data is relentless. It speaks louder than labels. This object did not follow the rules. It moved too fast. Its trajectory was wrong. Its origin traced not to the Sun, nor to the Kuiper Belt, nor to the Oort cloud. Astronomers rewound its path through time, expecting a familiar loop, a curved trajectory. But there was none. It did not belong. It came from outside, interstellar space. Only the third confirmed interstellar visitor ever detected by humanity. Cataloged under a sterile, clinical designation, it hides more than it reveals. 3I Atlas. At first glance, 3I Atlas appears unremarkable. No blazing tail like a classic comet. No dramatic breakup. No fireworks. And yet, astronomy has long shown us that the most disruptive discoveries arrive quietly. The first interstellar object ever seen by humanity, Oumuamua, slipped past unnoticed for weeks. And when it was finally understood, it forced scientists to invent entirely new explanations just to keep physics intact. 3I Atlas arrived carrying the same unease. Once telescopes around the world focused on it, something felt off. Its brightness fluctuated, but not in the smooth rhythm expected from a tumbling rock. Its reflectivity did not match any known asteroid type. Its motion suggested it was not merely drifting through the solar system, but cutting across it with an almost purposeful precision. Not steering, not accelerating unnaturally, yet not drifting as gravity alone would dictate. NASA's classification, a simple rock, was not wrong. It was incomplete. Because in astronomy, a rock is never just a rock. Every natural body carries a fingerprint, a chemical accent revealing where it was born. And 3I Atlas spoke with no familiar accent at all. Spectral analysis showed no strong cometary gases, no clear plume of water vapor or carbon monoxide. Yet subtle changes in brightness hinted at activity, something interacting with sunlight, releasing energy in ways that defy standard models. If it was an asteroid, why did it behave as though it were alive to solar radiation? If it was a comet, where was the coma? If it was neither, then what category were we missing? This is where discomfort begins. Science is not afraid of mystery. Science is afraid of patterns that almost make sense. 3I Atlas did not violate physics. It danced at the edges of it. Its velocity relative to the sun was higher than any bound object could sustain. This alone confirmed its interstellar origin. It was not captured, not native, not returning. It was passing through. But passing through does not mean ignoring. As it crossed the inner solar system, multiple instruments began tracking it. Ground-based telescopes, infrared surveys, and orbital observatories all contributed fragments of a larger picture. And that picture refused to settle. One of the most unsettling aspects was its orientation. Natural objects tumble chaotically. Over time, collisions, uneven heating, and gravitational nudges create irregular spins. But 3I Atlas showed signs of rotational stability. Not perfect, not artificial, but unexpectedly consistent. like a body that had been shaped, not engineered, shaped. Interstellar space is violent. Radiation strips surfaces. Micrometeoroids sandblast matter for millions of years. Objects that survive long journeys between stars are hardened, processed, altered. 3 Atlas looked like it had endured that journey. But endurance alone did not explain its behavior near the Sun. As it approached, it did not erupt as icy bodies usually do. Instead, it responded subtly, almost cautiously, brightening here, dimming there, different regions reacting differently to the same sunlight.
It was about letting someone see you anyway. Those words stayed with Ethan long after Lena walked away from the river, long after the water swallowed the space between them and the city returned to its familiar noise. They echoed in quiet moments, on elevators, in hallways, in rooms designed to impress, but built to keep people distant. For the first time in his life, he didn't chase the silence away. He didn't send cars, didn't call assistance, didn't try to fix the moment with money or control. He let the quiet do its work. Days passed, then weeks. Ethan returned to the boardroom, but he did not return as the man who once ruled it without question. He spoke less. He listened longer. Decisions that used to be made in seconds were now weighed with care. He asked questions that startled people, about impact, about consequence, about who paid the cost when profit moved too fast. Marcus noticed first. "You're different," he said one evening as they stood at the window of Ethan's office, the city spreading out beneath them like a living map. "I hope so," Ethan replied. "You're turning down deals," Marcus said. "Walking away from power plays. The board won't like it." Ethan didn't look away from the glass. "The board isn't the one I need to answer to anymore." Marcus studied him. "Is this about her?" "Yes," Ethan said simply. "And about me." That night, Ethan made decisions no one expected. He canceled the gala permanently. He froze expansions that hollowed neighborhoods. He closed divisions that extracted more than they built. Resources were redirected, quietly, deliberately, to schools that needed books, clinics that needed equipment, community programs that had learned to survive on promises instead of funding. There were no press releases, no speeches, no photos of smiling executives shaking hands. Not because he wanted redemption, but because he finally understood something he had avoided his entire life. Wealth wasn't proof of worth. It was responsibility without excuse. And still, every night, he thought of Lena, not as someone he had lost, but as someone he had finally seen clearly. Lena tried to return to her routines. Work, books, long walks that ended nowhere in particular. She told herself the ache would fade if she kept moving, that time would smooth the sharp edges of memory, the way water reshapes stone. Some days it almost worked. Other days it didn't. She missed him, not the man with secrets and shadows, but the man who listened, the man who carried groceries without complaint, the man who sat on the floor of her apartment, reading quietly while she graded papers, who laughed softly at nothing important at all. She hated that missing him didn't mean forgiving him. One afternoon, while tutoring a boy who struggled with reading, she found herself staring at the same paragraph without seeing it. "Miss Lena," the boy said, tilting his head. "You look sad." She smiled faintly. "I'm just thinking." "Thinking hurts," he said with the unfiltered certainty of someone who hadn't learned to doubt himself yet. "My mom says when something hurts, it's because it matters." That night, Lena stood by her window and watched the city lights blink on, one by one, like stars deciding whether to show themselves. She thought about the river, about Ethan standing there without defenses, about the difference between a lie meant to deceive and one meant to hide. She realized something uncomfortable. He hadn't lied to make her smaller. He had lied because he didn't believe he was enough without the mask. That didn't excuse it, but it complicated it. The call came 2 weeks later, from an unfamiliar number. She almost didn't answer, almost. "Lena," Ethan's voice said, careful and steady. "I wouldn't have called, but there's something I need you to know." She closed her eyes. "Okay, I'm stepping down," he said. Her breath caught. "From what?" "From being CEO," he replied. "Not forever, but long enough to dismantle what shouldn't exist without me." Silence filled the line. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because you asked me to decide what kind of man I am now," he said. "And because I don't want you to hear it from someone else and think it was for show." She leaned against the counter, grounding herself. "That's a big change," she said. "It's overdue," he replied. "And it has nothing to do with winning you back." She believed him. That surprised her. "I don't expect anything from you," he added. "I just wanted to be honest." They ended the call quietly. No promises, no expectations. But something softened. They didn't see each other again for another month. When they did, it wasn't planned. Lena was leaving the bookstore with a bag of used paperbacks balanced against her hip when she nearly collided with him on the sidewalk. They both froze, startled into stillness as the city streamed around them. He looked different, not poorer, not richer, lighter. "Hi," he said. "Hi," she replied. They stood there awkwardly, neither stepping forward nor back, a moment suspended between them. "Do you want to walk?" he asked. No pressure. She hesitated, then nodded. They walked the same river path as before, but this time there was no weight pulling them apart. The water moved steadily, unconcerned with the lives passing beside it. "I've been thinking," Lena said eventually, "about choice." "So have I. You took mine away at the beginning," she said, "but you gave it back when it mattered." "I'm still learning how to do that," he said. She stopped walking and turned to face him. "Here's my choice," she said. "We start over." His heart stuttered. "Not pretending," she continued. "Not rescuing, not impressing. Just two people who decide every day whether this still feels right." "Yes," he said immediately. She lifted a hand. Slowly. He smiled, unguarded, almost boyish. "I can do slowly." Their second beginning was quieter than the first. No grand gestures, no luxury dates. Coffee still tasted better when shared. Silence still felt safe. Some days were easy, others were not. He paid sometimes, she paid others. Not because of fairness, but because balance felt right. Ethan learned how to exist without being impressive. He learned to show up on time, to admit when he didn't know the answer, to sit with discomfort instead of buying his way around it. Lena learned how to let someone stay without bracing for the cost. She learned to speak fear aloud instead of letting it grow teeth in the dark. They argued, carefully, honestly, about boundaries, about trust, about the weight of the past. When fear crept in, they named it. They didn't let it decide for them. And slowly, something steady took root. Months later, they sat on the steps of Lena's building as the sun dipped behind roofs, the sky softening into colors that felt borrowed from another life. "I used to think love was about certainty," Ethan said, "about control. And now?" she asked. "Now I think it's about permission," he replied. "To change, to fail, to stay." She rested her head against his shoulder. "I don't need you to be poor," she said quietly, "or powerful. I need you to be present." He kissed her hair. "I am," he said, and this time there was no lie behind it. The story didn't end with a ring or a headline. It ended with something rarer. A man who learned that humility wasn't an act. A woman who learned that honesty could be rebuilt. And two people who met each other not at their best, but at their most real, and chose to stay.
Inside our solar system, the sun dominates everything. It warms, it erodes, it reshapes. Beyond it, in the cold spaces between stars, objects live very different lives. They are not warmed evenly, they are punished. 3I Atlas carries the scars of that punishment. This could explain why some regions brighten under sunlight while others remain inert. Why activity resembles something slow, buried deep beneath altered layers, long before the sun ever touched it. In this sense, 3I Atlas may be less like a visitor and more like a fossil, a fragment of planetary debris formed under different elemental ratios, different radiation environments, perhaps even a different planetary timeline. This is profound, because it means our models of planet formation, already incomplete, are based solely on our solar system. We assume our sun is typical, our planets are average, our debris fields are universal. 3I Atlas quietly challenges these assumptions. Its composition may differ, suggesting planetary systems elsewhere produce objects unlike anything we have cataloged. Not because they are artificial, but because nature has more recipes than we imagined. Interstellar space is not empty. Over eons, microscopic collisions, radiation, and weak structures would normally destroy fragile objects. For 3I Atlas to reach us intact, it must be resilient. Monolithic rather than rubble, dense rather than porous, resistant to fragmentation. These are not exotic ideas, just underrepresented in our data. Until recently, no visitors proved they exist. Now we do. And there is something quieter, more unsettling. 3I Atlas arrived without warning, but detection coincided with a new era of astronomy. Wide-field surveys scan the sky continuously, algorithms trained to notice what the human eye cannot. Perhaps interstellar objects are not rare. Perhaps they are common, part of the galaxy's background flow. This has implications for astrobiology. If rocks travel between stars, so can chemistry, organic molecules, amino acids, the raw ingredients of biology. Not life itself, but potential. 3I Atlas does not imply aliens. It implies continuity. A galaxy where matter is exchanged, systems are not isolated, and planetary building blocks circulate across light years. Just a rock feels insufficient. Rocks are storytellers of the universe. They remember conditions long erased elsewhere. They travel farther than light from their parent stars. They encode histories we cannot recreate. NASA's caution remains essential. There is no threat, no hidden intelligence, but there is humility. The humility to admit we do not know what a typical interstellar object looks like. 3I Atlas may be ordinary for another star, extraordinary for us. As it recedes, growing fainter with every passing week, each observation is a final one. Each data point irreplaceable. Once gone, we are left with equations, models, and questions that did not exist before it arrived. That is the true legacy of 3I Atlas. Not fear, not speculation, but expansion. An expansion of what we consider possible. NASA may call it a rock. History will remember it as something else. The moment we realized the solar system is not an island. That the galaxy is active. That travelers pass quietly, carrying stories from stars we will never reach. And sometimes, they pass close enough for us to notice. Only once, only briefly, and then they are gone, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Because now we know, the silence is not empty.